get your Apple goggles.
Apple
Have you been
goggles?
seeing it? Have you been seeing any of that? They've got like Apple has like their new like virtual reality like peripheral now.
Oh, like Google.
It's kind of like the
have a
Google
thing?
Glass, but I don't know what
Google
Apple
Glass.
calls it. Google Glass, Google Gaga. I don't know what Apple calls it. But like I've just been seeing videos of like probably maybe the worst thing I've ever seen, which is the weird like Nintendo 64 Tesla truck, and then like someone passes it on the road and the dude driving is wearing like the goggles and he's just like, because I think it has like Apple's interface, but it's like it's like a science fiction movie where it's like it's kind of like a floating screen in front of you, and you do the Sherlock thing where you move that around and you grab this, and you know all of Apple's like gestures, like the 3-finger pinch on the trackpad and the swipe and all that, but just like some dipshit in a Tesla on autopilot with like his Apple goggles just gooning or doing whatever in his car. It's like, man, the future's so cool.
I mean, that's what all this technology and everything is leading to.
Yeah, you got like 3 virtual monitors. Oh, holy shit. As soon as I opened up Twitter, this might be this might be satire. But this is exactly what I was talking about. It's so bizarre to see to see one of those cyber trucks in the wild, like
Oh my god. Yeah, that's gotta be.
Yeah, I think that might be satire, but there's like videos that I've seen of like dudes like sitting on public transit, just like kind of sitting like that, and like it's like oh man. It's like you watch those cartoons when you're a kid and you're like, man, the future's gonna be so cool. We got floating cars, and we're gonna, it's just gonna be, technology's gonna solve all of our problems. And now it's gonna be like these Apple goggles, and it's gonna just be like sports betting ads on everything.
Yeah, man, I don't. There's no. I'm not suited for this kind of shit. Like, I don't even like having like my headphones on both ears at the same time. I do it when we record these episodes, and that's about it.
Yeah. I find something comforting about it. I kind of like it.
I mean, I would like to, I like the idea of it, especially listening to music. I'm like, man, I do like that feeling, but I think I'm too tied to my primal instincts. I have to have I can't close myself off. I have to be aware,
Oh,
in case any predators enter my space while I'm listening to music or gooning in my cave.
Yeah, we were meant to have eyes on like the sides of our head, like apex predators do.
Yeah.
There was when that Childish Gambino album came out, the one with the cover that you hate. Yeah. I bought like the like deluxe vinyl of it, and it came with like these cardboard, like kind of like Google Glass, but there's no like technology in them. It's literally just like those, you kind of print out your own VR headset kind of deal.
Okay.
And it came with like this app that's it's a very Donald Glover production where it's like he developed an app for his one-time concert experience thing.
Oh, okay.
But it was like 5 or 6 songs, and it was the kind of thing where you download the app, put your phone horizontal, and then slide it into the glass, and then put it up to your eyes. But I did that, and then I plugged these headphones into it as well, and it was like I was like, I don't like this, because I could literally look around in the concert because it was like fully 360. So if I wanted to, I could just turn around and stare at the audience the entire time. But like with it, because like once your eyes adjusted to it, and then you had these headphones on, it was like I was completely submerged in it. Like I was there. Yeah. And it's like I got a little taste of the future. And I was like, no, this is bad. This is bad. Like my lizard brain is telling me to run.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I've tried that before for some games, like like Super Hot, which is really fun.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah,
fun
yeah.
getting like super immersed into it. But at the same time, especially because I would play that out at my dad's house, so my brothers would be there, and it's like, well, I can't fucking trust them when I'm blind and deaf, pretty much, you know.
Yeah. Isaiah's gonna get on all fours behind you, and then you're gonna back up and just like trip over him
exactly,
or something.
Yeah. And so maybe that's just crossed over to any sort of like, anytime I got headphones on or any sort of like,
Yeah. I will say sometimes, like, we have our neighbors upstairs are pretty loud sometimes, so we'll be doing this, and I'll just barely hear just like thumping, and I'm like, is someone here?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't tell if the door just opened or what's going on.
Yeah.
It's freaky. Yeah, I know PlayStation put out like a VR thing for like the PS4, and they released like Resident Evil 7 on VR, and I was like, I'm already scared of that game.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the first person's perspective, like dealing with that.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Speaking of the future, I guess
Valentine's Day is the future from this recording date, I guess.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Welcome back to another episode of There Will Be Duds. Ladies and gents, this is episode 137, and I am your co-host TJ, and with me as always, I am Nick. And as always, we watched a movie. This movie is because this episode's coming out on Valentine's Day. The movie we watched is Valentine's Day from 2010, directed by Garry Marshall. It is more or less a series of interwoven, interconnected stories about a bunch of different couples or people looking for love. It's an ensemble romance movie, very akin to Love Actually, which is what I was thinking ahead of time watching this, and pretty much confirmed. It's if you know Love Actually, it's the same idea. Huge ensemble cast for this too, like crazy. I remember
maybe to its own detriment.
Ooh, okay. I remember thinking that during Love Actually, like, wow, there's a lot of people in this, and I feel like even more so with this. There's a lot of people in this movie. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And apparently it did really well. Garry Marshall, while not having like maybe the best movies ever, he did have a lot of hits on his hands, and I guess this was one of them.
Yeah, he really got into this idea at the end of his career.
I know. So we can, Mother's Day is coming up. We'll see, miss New Year's Eve, but
next year we'll get New Year's Eve in there. Yeah, he really, and same thing. Like New Year's Eve and Mother's Day, they're both like pretty hefty ensemble casts. But I mean, looking at his filmography is wild. Although I guess he didn't write and direct everything, like. Because I saw Orange County on there, and I was like, he wrote and no, he's an actor. He's in it.
Yeah, he's acted in a fair amount of things, too, yeah. I think his biggest probably claim to, like, as far as, like, creating is like, Happy Days, and then he directed, like, Pretty Woman. Those are probably, like, his biggest, most acclaimed works, I guess, or I don't know,
Yeah, I would say so. Well, I mean, depending on how old you are, because for some people, it's The Princess Diaries. Because he did those two movies, and we were watching this movie last night, and Chloe's like, "Oh, that guy's in The Princess Diaries."
Yeah.
Oh, those two dudes, those like two background dudes standing in line at the flower shop, they're in The Princess Diaries, and it's like, I looked it up. And I was like, would it surprise you to know that this guy directed The Princess Diaries? Yeah. Like, I think the airport attendant guy that kind of lets Ashton Kutcher go through, he's like the...
guy,
he's like the etiquette coach, I think, in the Princess Diaries, or like he's part of like the royal whatever that I feel like helps her like become proper or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was expecting this to be pretty cringe, and I would say it has its moments, but it's not as egregious. It was not as egregious as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like super syrupy and corny. Like
Well,
I mean, it
is pretty syrupy, I would say.
Yeah.
Like it is. But
yeah, I feel like it launders it a little bit better. Where with some other movies, like I don't know, we can get into it in post chat, but I saw Anyone But You, like the new romantic comedy, and there are some lines in that movie where it's literally just like reading fortune cookies, where it's like love is worth fighting for and is the greatest natural just like really, really corny, terrible, like just hack stuff. And I think this movie does a pretty good job of like having those lines, especially with like the older couple, Shirley MacLaine and the other guy. Like I think those two characters are the sort of like stand-in. Like they seem like the type of people that would be in I think that's When Harry Met Sally. Like that movie has like all the old couples kind of talking about how they met mixed in.
Yes.
Those two would have been like, those would have, and like that dude, I feel like even almost kind of looked like Billy Crystal to me. So I was like, maybe that's why I thought of that.
That guy, that's one of the guys that's in Princess Diaries too.
Of course it is. Yeah, I kind of said to the detriment. I feel like like Kathy Bates is like second build in this movie, and like she's in it at the beginning and she's in it at the very end. Yeah. I was like, that seems kind of underutilized. That just seems like a character to be like, oh shit, it's Kathy Bates. Like that's her whole point.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, got some laughs out of me too. Maybe if they were meant to be or not. The one kid is kind of like your stereotypical like wiser than his years child that kind of shows up in these types of movies. And maybe you probably keyed onto this too, but I got a pretty big chuckle out of him talking about the girl that he's interested in, and he says like, she's the only other person in my grade who has Frank Zappa on her iPod.
Oh yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That's me.
Yeah.
That would have been me.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple jokes that I knew I should have written them down because I forgot them, but there's a couple funny bits. Give it that. And yeah, there is some of that. It is very saccharine sweet in the way that Love Actually is. And overall I didn't like it as much as I enjoyed Love Actually. But also, like you said, there is a little bit of cringe, but there is no Andrew Lincoln with the sign cards scene. There's nothing that touches that in this.
But my thought was maybe that's what makes Love Actually stand out and be more memorable, because every year on Christmas time, Love Actually, like I think people have like worked that into their viewing, where like this movie, like I didn't even know that it existed, but I've heard of Love Actually, and maybe that's what this movie was lacking, were like those Andrew Lincoln moments where you're like, I love this movie, but this one part's like really over the top cringe, but like you enjoy it anyway, like you get a good laugh out of it and you're like, oh my god, this is so insane that they did this. But I feel like this movie doesn't really have any sort of like big moment that's like memorable. So maybe this movie needed an Andrew Lincoln type character.
Yeah, that's kind of more or less. I wasn't really thinking of that tie-in when I was saying it, but that is more or less why I didn't like this one as much as that. And like, I'm not saying that Love Actually is some like masterpiece of romantic like filmmaking, but the reason that I did enjoy Love Actually more than I guess I was expecting I was going to, is because of that, because it has those moments, because it has, I really like how some of those stories wrap up. Like, it's really cute. The, like, you know, Colin Firth, like, he returns to Spain or whatever, and, like, he was you see him, like, practicing Spanish so that he can, like, propose to her, and then he goes back and you find out that she was learning English at the same time, and it's like, that's really cute. That's really, like, yeah, it's a really quaint, simple, cute thing. And in this, it's, like, every storyline, like, we see, it was the third couple introduction, and every time it's somebody waking up in bed, and I was like, is this gonna happen with everybody? And then the next one was Shirley MacLaine waking up in bed, and I was like, oh my god. And that's one of those, like, it's in that one, I think you sent it to me or I sent it to you or whatever a while ago. It's like like short film festival tropes, and it's in that where it's like, oh, character introduction, show them waking up in bed.
Yeah.
And it's like
brushing their teeth, their alarm's going off.
Yeah. And it's like
which
every
I've done.
Story. Yeah. I probably have too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But every story ends like that, and then every story just kind of ends with there's no big moment. It's just like, oh, Ashton Kutcher and Jennifer Garner on the bridge, and they're like, oh, we actually love each other, even you know what we've been alluding to this whole time. And it's kind of that with like every storyline, you know.
Yeah. I think there's one storyline that has a little bit of weight, and they literally wait until the end of the movie for the reveal. And I don't know, like the Julia Roberts character.
That's and the Bradley Cooper and Luke, what's that guy's name?
Oh,
Eric Dane, the football player guy.
Yeah. Which I Chloe pointed that out to me. Like, McDreamy and McSteamy are in this.
There was a couple duos. There was those two. There was two Roberts. There was
Topher Grace and Ashton Kutcher from that 70s show.
Yeah. That was funny because like you get, you know, your however long, whichever number couple, because there was a few before, and you have like Ashton Kutcher waking up. Okay, yeah, he's a, you know, Hollywood hunk, and then Patrick Dempsey. Okay, yeah, and then it's like Topher Grace. I'm like, is he also one of those? Because I still just see Eric Foreman.
Or this would have been right off the heels of Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, Spider-Man. He definitely had a Eddie Brock Venom vibe in this.
Yes. Also, you got Emma Roberts and Julia Roberts, who are related in real life. Taylor Swift and Taylor Lautner. You got two Taylors. I think they were dating.
I never knew that. But
do you know? Did you know that Taylor Lautner did marry someone named Taylor? So him and his wife are both Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. I mean, if he had married Taylor Swift, it would have been the same. She probably would have kept her name.
Probably.
But it is funny that, you know, it's like, hi, I'm Taylor Lautner. This is my wife, Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, that's like the only time it's appropriate for the, you know, at the wedding they're like, now let's introduce for the first time Mr. and Mrs. Taylor Lautner.
Yeah. yeah, that would have been perfect. They did make a fun little jab at the Twilight movies with him. It's one of the scenes where they're like, I think it's when Taylor Swift and him like exchange each other's gifts or whatever. She gets him a shirt, and then she's like, oh, it's got your lucky number on the back. And then he's like, oh, this is your lucky number. And she's like, oh, you hate it.
I love it. I can't wait to wear it.
Try it on now, then.
Now?
Yeah.
Well, you know, a little uncomfortable taking my shirt off in public.
I don't know, have you seen the Twilight movies?
I've seen the first two, you know, like when they were big. So
it is so goddamn funny watching those movies, because literally like Taylor Lautner and all of like the werewolves in that movie It's like
Oh, 'cause
any
they
sort
always
of
take their
they
shirts
always
off. Yeah, that's
anytime
right.
there's any sort of situation
That's
going
right.
on, they're like, "Oh, what's going on? How can I help?" And then they just
That's-
pull their shirts off.
That's one of the
without
things
fail.
that I remember from New Moon is there's a part where Bella like gets into a little accident and she like scrapes up her knee and he like runs up and he's just shirt off.
Yep.
Let me
Yep.
do a tourniquet for your scrape.
Yes. And like they all kind of dress like John Cena, where they've all got like the jean shorts, they're just
Yeah.
like ripped.
Okay.
But I was like,
didn't
oh.
realize that was a reference to that. That's funny.
Well, I think like Taylor Lautner had some sort of like, I don't think he got like body dysmorphia, but I think he was like,
Oh yeah, I think
he's
I
like,
heard
it's
about that.
weird. He's like, it's weird the way that people objectify me because I'm Jacob in Twilight or whatever.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, like reading that a while ago. That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But yeah, what we were originally talking about, the one sort of like heavier, more like emotional moment was at the very end when like Julia Roberts' character, because you meet her and Bradley Cooper on the airplane, and they're kind of hitting it off. Like the characters are introduced with her like sleeping on his shoulder, which is very like in a romantic comedy kind of movie. That's very like, that's a coded thing. Like, oh, they're strangers, but like she feels comfortable enough to fall asleep on his shoulder, and he's like, he kind of lets her. So you think that like, you know, you've met all of these. She's waking up. She's not in a bed, but she's waking up.
I didn't even count that one. You're right.
Oh my God. Now that you've pointed it out to me, I can't not notice that. She literally
Damn.
wakes up. They can't not do it.
I didn't think about that.
That's like the one like CinemaSin style like criticism I think I'll allow. Just like, ding, another character
Yeah.
wakes up in the bed. But, you know, the movie, you're watching it and you think that they're going to be the next couple. Okay, so this is going to be their story. And then, yeah, the very, because, like, I looked over at Chloe at that part and she was kind of like, and I was like, well, that's not fair. That's not fair that they did that. Where she comes home and she's the little boy's mother.
Yeah.
And because like the whole time Bradley Cooper's like, oh man, there must be a real special guy waiting for you at home, like kind of doing the like, oh yeah, you're going home for Valentine's Day to like see your husband or see your boyfriend or whatever. And she never explains it to him. She never tells him who she's going to see. And then like I was like, oh, that's kind of touching and heartwarming.
I did like that. Yeah, you're right.
Because man, I will get hit with like, I don't know if you've ever seen military surprise videos where someone will be like at school and it's like, you know, I'm like the Grinch where it's like it melts your heart a little bit even if you try to resist it and it still just gets you, at least for me. So I was like, shit, that's annoying that got me.
Yeah. Yeah, that and you're right. That and the like I said, the Bradley Cooper like coming home, because that was more close to what I was hoping, I guess, again, because the whole time I'm gonna probably reference it a few more times. It's like having just Love Actually in the back of my head. Is like that, yeah, kind of like because they did a good job of like, you know that the kid is. Emma Roberts is his babysitter. Those are his grandparents, but they don't like. It's covered so like lightly that you don't. I never really found myself wondering like, oh, where's his mom? Where are his parents? Where are they? Why is he like with the babysitter all day?
The only time I thought that was when he got on the bike and left, and I was like, does anybody like watch over this kid?
Yeah, and then same thing with Eric Dane's character, where he comes out as gay, and you're like, oh, is that it though? Is he not? Because at that, he's like hasn't even alluded to having like a romantic interest. They've just been talking about his career, and
right.
It almost seems like he's the background character to Jessica Biel's, her romance stuff with Jamie Foxx. Like, okay, so it's not his romance story, it's hers, so it doesn't really. You're not really thinking about him.
He's what connects those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, like, the fact that he had one and it was, it's Bradley Cooper. Okay, cool. That was nice.
I almost thought that was like a joke, because the way that he does it during his press conference, where they're like speculating about his career, if he's gonna sign with a new team, if he's gonna retire, I thought he's like, hey, you know what? I'm gay, and then everyone's just like, what? But that's like one of the. I only wrote a few notes, but when that scene came on, I was like, go ahead, call me gay,
Make me gay. Yeah.
make me gay, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But then, when we saw the Bradley Cooper bit on the plane, I was like, they're hitting it off far too well. They're like, there's no conflict with their relationship, him and Julia Roberts. Like, they're. So I was like, no, Bradley Cooper, there's got to be something else. And then I think maybe on the cemetery scene, I was like, wait a minute, Bradley Cooper's gay too. And Chloe's like, I'm not saying anything.
Oh,
and
damn.
then sure enough, I did call it.
See, I had the other one figured out. That's funny that you had that, because like the whole time I was like, when you oh, you got a special guy waiting for you, blah blah blah, and they like said it a few times. I was like, she's going home to meet her kid. It's her kid. It's not another man. But I was also thinking that because I thought those two were going to hook up. So yeah, that the Bradley Cooper and Eric Dane one caught me more off guard than the Julia Roberts one. But I still liked, that was a good moment with her and the kid too.
Mommy! You're so big.
We're talking about
The movie.
Bradley Cooper's gay, Emma Roberts. Did you Did you see that statistic about Julia Roberts? About
the money or whatever
per word?
Yeah, what the fuck? That's crazy.
I don't know what like is that something that they figured out retroactively?
That's what I wonder. Is that just because sometimes those trivia points on IMDb are just some autistic people trying to this is interesting to me.
Yeah, so the IMDb trivia here says Julia Roberts was paid $11,952 for each word she says in the film, 251 words in return for reportedly a $3 million paycheck.
Yeah.
That does sound like some, because like that would be a weird like I'm a celebrity kind of thing where she's like, I'm such a highfalutin celebrity that like you're gonna pay me this amount of money per word. Like I don't think that's realistic. I think this is like something someone did it retroactively because her character really doesn't speak all that much. I feel like she's kind of a stoic character. Because I feel like I've heard. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it would be funny if like during the bloopers, every time it shows her, it's like they'll cut and you'll hear her go, "Hey, can I like riff some more on this one?
And they're like,
let me
no.
like ad lib." No,
shut up, stop. We're already over budget.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen a similar statistic that people have done with God, it might have been the first Terminator, because I think Arnold was not he's like English as a second language, and I think that was early enough in his career that he still wasn't like super comfortable with English, that someone like figured out, okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger made this much money on Terminator and had this many lines, and I think someone broke down like the money to be like, oh, Arnold earned X amount of money per word. So I think that's like a statistic that I've heard for other movies.
Okay.
It's weird that they did it for Julia Roberts in this one specifically. Maybe it's because her and Garry Marshall have a history. Like,
maybe.
There are several Pretty Woman references apparently.
Yeah.
And like he did that movie with her.
The one where I think she's in the car. It might be a blooper too, where she's.
Oh, like, no, it's in the limo, and they say,
have you ever been
yeah,
there? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie.
I haven't either, but I know that scene. I'm pretty sure that's where it plays the The Roy
song.
Orbison song, yeah.
The titular song.
Yeah. Yes.
It's yeah, it's funny because like it's such a huge cast, but so many of the storylines are just kind of just I don't know. I feel like they tried to quirk them up. Like
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway is a phone
Yeah.
sex operator, and every time she gets a phone call, she does like this different accent to be like, "Oh yes, I am a Russian dominatrix, and I
Yeah.
will, you know." And I feel like they tried to like zhuzh up some of the conflict between the characters, because like Topher Grace is like I feel like they tried to do the same dramatic beats as if it's like some huge revelation, like she cheated on him or something like that. Because I feel like he treats it the same way. Like he kind of walks in and he hears her talking on the phone, and then it's like they try to do the same emotional beats for something that's like kind of weird and not really like something that I feel like would warrant that deep of a reaction, where Topher Grace is just like, he's like, I can't, I'm from the Midwest, and I can't do this, I gotta walk away. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal. That seems weird to have that sort of like big emotional reaction to something like that.
I do think that like sex work has it's a lot more like socially accepted nowadays or whatever.
That's true.
Where like back in the day that was more, I mean, I say that, and yet 20 years before this he did Pretty Woman, and that movie is exactly about that, because she's the basic concept is Julia Roberts is a prostitute, and it's like a love story between her and Richard Gere. But that's part of it is she's a prostitute, and that's kind of not.
Is she like trying to keep it a secret from him or something like that, or does he know, and like he?
I haven't seen it either, but
okay.
I think he knows. I think so.
Maybe that's how they meet. He like
It might be, yeah. Like
he's like a patron.
Yeah, it could.
He
be
buys her. I was trying to find a way to not say he purchases her, but
Yeah.
I guess it is a transactional thing, so I guess that's how it would work.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day 2024 remake. Like every female character just like has an OnlyFans. in like all their bedrooms there's just like ring lights and like butt plugs and dildos everywhere. They're all like poly.
Yeah.
My wife's boyfriend is gonna be here soon, and he's gonna be so pissed. Oh, there's like some weird I don't know if it's like a breaking the fourth wall, but there was like some weird like the Shirley MacLaine thing where
yeah.
they showed the movie that she was in.
Yeah.
But her character's name was Estelle.
Yeah.
But they're showing the movie starring the actress Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
And like the guy's like, he's like, she's in it, literally, and it points to the screen, and it's like, and I did think that was kind of cute, the way that like her and her husband were like kind of having this big conversation while the movie was doing the same thing, and then they embrace and kiss at the exact same time that the movie does. I was like, okay, that's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of like weird semi meta stuff like that in this. Like that, the Pretty Woman references.
Yeah.
I know there's more, but I'm forgetting them. Like,
I don't know if you'd count the Taylor Lautner Twilight one.
I was kind of thinking that like just it being Taylor Lautner and Taylor Swift, because they were going out at the time and stuff. And
I don't want to upset the Swifties here, our legion of Swifties listeners. Didn't think she was a very good actress in this movie. If like there's any one point of cringe I could point to, and part of me, I think her character was supposed to be that.
Yeah,
because I think she's supposed to be like a dumb airhead, like cheerleader girl. Fine, but it was just annoying It was, I don't know, I found her performance to just be kind of cringy and annoying, and like, it's like her character is aware that she's Taylor Swift.
But I look outside my door, and my boyfriend's nowhere to be found.
Right.
But there's like this giant white bear.
Yeah, the bear's there.
On the ground.
Oh, he's a cat.
On the floor. But yeah. Isn't that like the sweetest thing ever?
Like she's mugging to the camera a little bit, just like, isn't it?
She's mogging.
Isn't it ironic and weird that I'm in this movie? Because like I don't think she has a huge filmography.
Cats.
Like,
this is our second T-Swift movie.
That is true. Valentine's Day is like her first movie.
Okay.
And then The Lorax,
Sweet.
The Giver, Cats,
Okay. Interesting.
All Too Well, which I think it's a short film based on one of her songs.
Oh.
So
that doesn't count.
And
That's
then
a music video.
Yeah. She's in the 2022 David O. Russell movie Amsterdam.
Oh, okay.
And there is one scene in particular. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm going to find it here on YouTube.
From Amsterdam or?
Yes, because it is insane the way that they do this. Well, that's going to be a spoiler, I guess, if you look at it. But she gets smoked by a car.
Really?
In this, yes. I just sent it to you.
Taylor Swift gets killed.
Yeah, that's the name of the video. It's pretty long. It's like 58 seconds. But basically she gets like pushed into traffic.
Oh, yeah, I'll skip to the end.
Oh, Jesus, it's so brutal. Yeah, about 46 seconds in. Like, some of the comments are like, this is the only reason I watched this movie. And then someone's like, this should have been in the Eras movie. But it's like, that's insane that like, like what is her selection process like? He's like, this like David O. Russell like auteur movie, this auteur director guy. And then, yeah, she's in it like very briefly and then just gets shoved into traffic and gets like CGI run over by a car.
Well, I will say at least for Cats and Valentine's Day, it probably came with the caveat that she gets to make a song for the movie. She gets a song featured in it.
That's true. She gets 2 in this one. Well,
yeah.
In the ending credits music.
Right, yeah. I don't know if they were both... I didn't recognize them, but I'm not like... I don't know a ton of her songs, so I don't know if they were both like made for this movie or if they were on an existing record or. I think the one the Today Was a Fairy Tale. I think that was written and recorded for the original motion soundtrack to Valentine's Day. Okay.
So I think that was, but she did do like a new Taylor's version, so she did re-record it.
Oh. Huh.
As far as I can tell, but then I think there's another one of her songs in the ending credits, and I think that's just like a normal one. But this is also like country era Taylor Swift, so it's got that like that country twang to it, which is always jarring.
Yeah.
Because you forget like that's kind of how she got her start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I thought she was when I was saying that this movie has a little cringe, she was what I was thinking of. And it was mostly that first scene where she's in the elevator with, I think, Jennifer Garner, and
she's like, "This is my bear.
Yeah,
my boyfriend got it for me."
That was really bad. I thought that was really bad.
It was really bad.
But then everything else I thought was like
not
as
falls
bad
in line
because then I was like, okay, yeah, she's supposed to be like a ditzy teenager or whatever. It was okay. Like Taylor Lautner like pulls a George Harrison and eats shit when he's on the track and field, and she's like, "You're doing great, babe." Yeah, with that weird, that was such a, that whole scene was bizarre though. Like it was just like it was like, we have nothing for these two, but they are, you know, the hot celebrity couple right now, so we should put them in the
2010,
movie.
that is like peak era for
For both of them. Well,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
not for Taylor Swift, but for Taylor Lautner for sure.
yeah.
And because it was like it was just at school, and the news wanted to do a news story about young love, I guess. So they interview these two idiots for like 5 minutes. It's weird.
They should have had Emma Roberts and her boyfriend. They should have interviewed them.
Yeah.
I was confused for a second, like who she was, like in relation to everybody else, because she was like talking to Estelle and the other guy. She's like, "Oh yeah, at lunchtime we're gonna go to my parents' place and we're going to have sex because they're not going to be there." She's just like doing it in this very matter-of-fact way, and I'm like, "Are these your grandparents that you're just talking to about this?" Because it seems very like formal
Yeah.
and open.
Maybe.
I was like,
Could
"Oh,"
be.
because I guess.
I thought that she
I don't know,
was
'cause-
their grandkid too. I thought that she was
Yeah.
the little kid's older sister.
Because I was like, whoa, that's very that's a very intimate thing to be just like telling your grandparents matter of factly.
I mean, she did just tell her teacher, like very matter of factly, or whoever that was.
Oh yeah, Kristen Shaw is in this.
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah, I totally forgot about her scene. She's like, yeah, and Kristen Shaw's character is like almost like frightened of her, just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, like I don't know what to do in this situation.
That was one of the lines that kind of got a chuckle out of me, which is where she's like, yeah, so I'm gonna be busy for all of lunch today doing that.
I'm free tomorrow. Lunchtime tomorrow, I'll definitely be free.
Well, you'll be done having sex by then.
Something like that. That's funny.
Yeah.
There's
Might have been an ad lib. Kristen Shaw has pretty good
might be.
comedic timing, I would say.
Yeah. But yeah, there was like a couple more little things like that. I was like, ha ha ha. Funny. It's like I have no object permanent, like plot permanence. It's like, okay, now I'm talking about Emma Roberts, and then I have to like use so much brain power to like, what are the other stories in this?
Yeah, like the Ashton Kutcher and Jessica Alba one, where she was kind of like the assistant woman that Alan Rickman kind of flirts around with in Love Actually, where it shows her like checking into her hotel with the dog, and I was like, oh, where's this going? And then that's like her last scene. You don't see her anymore.
It is, yeah, that's weird.
And I was like, oh, okay. Because I mean, even in like Love Actually, that character, like the actress, I don't think she was like a super famous actress. So you're like, oh, okay, her storyline is done, I guess. But this is like Jessica Alba. She's like second. I mean, on the Wikipedia, you know what? I'm learning now. This is alphabetical order. That's why she's at the top.
but she was pretty big at this time, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to.
And she just plays a asshole.
Do a big old B word.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that Ashton Kutcher's IMDb picture is just a picture of him as Steve Jobs.
I noticed that the other day. I looked at that. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, Julia Roberts is like on IMDb at the very least. She's like top billed. It's her, then Jamie Foxx, Anne Hathaway, and then Jessica Alba. She's like fourth. So, yeah, she doesn't really have a ton to do in this.
Yeah. There is just so much that I think it's like if you're out of the romance plot, then this movie doesn't have time for you. It's already 2 hours. It's 2 full hours.
Yeah,
but it is a lot. But there is a lot of stuff happening, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess you know, it bounces around fast enough to the point where like it doesn't feel super long. It wasn't like an agonizing experience, I'll say that.
No.
Some people hate this movie.
People, I think it's same thing with Love Actually. That's why I like brought it up, is because I was like, I didn't get why people hated that movie so much, because I thought it was just like, you know, it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's not great. They're not amazing movies. But I don't think they're like the worst movies ever.
Yeah, hedge your expectations. It's like a romantic comedy with like an ensemble cast.
Yeah,
like it's not going to be Citizen Kane levels of like. Exactly. Character development and writing and intrigue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, yeah, go into it for like, for what it is. And, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, have we gone soft or something? I feel.
Well, I mean,
like, it's not too bad.
I know, had I seen this movie when it came out, I would probably be saying, this is one of the worst movies ever. Like, this movie fucking sucks. But
2010, I was like, I'm watching Watchmen and The Social Network and Inception. I'm watching dudes rock movies.
And to be clear, those are all better movies than Valentine's Day.
Well, yeah.
Still. But,
I didn't want to say it.
But, yeah, I don't know. There is, you know, part nostalgia, part just like maybe I feel like nowadays I watch so many even if they're not like depressing, I watch like, you know, very important movies a lot. I watch a lot of like prestige movies that like sometimes it's just nice to just eat some junk food, you know. Yeah. To the point where, like, I kind of want to see New Year's Eve and Mother's Day. We should do.
I think
put it on the docket. I think between this, Ernest, and Medea, we can just kind of have all the holidays covered.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Although I think Mother's Day would be around our 150th episode, and I wouldn't want to like burn our like anniversary episode.
Probably not.
On Mother's Day.
Was this like an unofficial trilogy? That'd be kind of like out of left field. What if for our 150th episode we did Valentine's Day again and Mother's Day and New Year's Eve?
New Year's Eve. Into the Marshall verse.
Yeah.
I did not know that he did Happy Days. That was like an interesting tidbit that I found. I was like, because like, yeah, I was like, this dude kind of is like this prestigious guy in that, like, he created he created Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley.
That's right. Yeah, because
and Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, those are all like, I guess that makes sense. I guess I should have figured that, because those are both spin-offs of Happy Days, Mork and Mindy and.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Runaway Bride. My mom loved that movie.
That's right. Yep, that's Richard Gere and Julia Roberts again too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did Overboard too, which I haven't seen, but I'd like to. That seems like another just fun romantic comedy, and it's Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, which is cute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a very 1980s movie poster.
Yeah.
With them like on the boat. Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like 50 minutes in. You got anything else you want to?
I feel like, yeah, I mean, we can probably move along. I keep feeling like I said, like it's so hard to keep my thoughts together with this movie.
Yeah.
Because of how like sprawling it is, but yeah, I'm
okay.
good to move whenever.
Yeah. I'll go first here. I was anticipating this being like a ghost dud.
Mm-hmm.
Like a dud before a dud. Like,
okay. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, we're kind of doing two duds for the month, because I feel like usually holiday themed movies tend to be saccharine and corny, like you know, your Hallmark Christmas movies. And it's kind of tough to rate this one because, like you said, like sometimes you just want to eat junk food, and this is just kind of a junk food movie. And I guess as a junk food movie, it is kind of missing that weirdness that, like, so, you know, something like a Love Actually has, where this one is a little bit safer, a little bit more by the numbers. The sort of like emotional moments are fewer and far between. But I had a good time with the cast. I thought a couple moments were funny. Taylor Swift was very, very cringy, but I feel like, you know, we kind of shat on her a little bit, but I guess maybe she's just good at playing millennial. She is like the millennial cringe person. Like literally tonight, we were watching the Grammys, and Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs were doing Fast Car, and it cut to like the audience, and Taylor Swift was like the only person. She was like standing up, clapping, and like singing along with it. So you know what? Maybe she is just like the poster child for millennial cringe, and you know, she was sent on this earth with one thing in mind, and that's what she's doing. But I mean, I guess as a film though, I feel like I'm on the border between 5 and 6.
Okay.
Like, so let's just do strong 5 or a weak 6. That's kind of where I'm at. Let's go strong 5. So 5.
Okay.
It was just kind of a movie. It was kind of junk food. It was empty calories with a few like. It's like the moments with like Bradley Cooper and Julia Roberts were like when you get one of those chips that's got like extra flavor dusting on it, but the rest of the chips are a little underseasoned.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
that's a dud or spud too. That I guess, yeah, it's a potato based response. So you know, it's like a halfway, a dud half measure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I remembered one of the points that I wanted to make. And it was when we were talking about, it is hammering more in on Taylor Swift. But it's like, I was saying that there was the elevator scene that was cringy, but then afterwards I was like more okay with her. But then I think the worst part was like when they played her song over like her in the movie. And I was like, this isn't a fucking music video. Play something else. The soundtrack in general was very American, like that I don't know if that's always going to be harder for me to get behind, despite, you know, nostalgia feels or like the junk foodiness, like we were saying. Like when I hear needle drops that were on the radio all the fucking time, I'm still going to be irritated. And there was a few in this, and I won't count the Taylor Swift songs in that regard because I never heard her stuff on there. But it was just that, like, she was in the movie, and it was too much.
That was like the Amy Mann Wise Up scene where like the entire cast sings along to the Taylor Swift "My Life Is a Fairy Tale" or whatever.
Yeah. But that, you know, so that and like the music would bring it down lower. But then we get some bloopers at the end. And all is right.
Bloopers are fun.
Again, bloopers are great. They always, you know, I was like, the movie ended, and I was like, yeah, that was kind of a, you know, there was nothing special about that ending. And then, you know, the credits stop, and okay, all right, and it was all right, 10 out of 10. There we go. No, so I settled on a 5 as well. Okay, kind of like right in the middle, like a solid 5.
Yeah. Kind of just inoffensive. Could have been more offensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could have, you know.
Could have been more. Yeah, like more. You mean like more like racist? More.
Yeah. I want everything to be more like inappropriate comedy. I think that's kind of like a good baseline for everything to start at.
That party where Jessica Alba's alone in that Indian restaurant was like a perfect setup for an amazing racist bit.
There's just Ari Shafir in the background talking to people,
doing a very thick like Indian accent,
just in brown face.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it's like that perfect kind of like you said, just like inoffensive whatever junk food movie where it's like, yeah, I'll totally watch Mother's Day and New Year's Eve when they come around.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Definitely more looking forward to them than any more Medea movies, at least.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this kind of worked out perfectly for this episode being on Valentine's Day because we had a chance to go to our hometown theater the other night, and I went to go see Anyone But You, the new romantic comedy film with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. This was, of all of the things that were playing at the theater, this seemed like the one that would be the least torturous. I didn't particularly want to see Wonka, even though apparently my parents liked it, but I don't know what using them as a barometer for how good something is.
Yeah.
So it seemed, the least painful thing to watch. And yeah, it's it's kind of your cookie cutter romantic comedy. Apparently it's a Shakespearean adaptation of
Much Ado About Nothing, right?
Yes, yeah. I think that's the one. Basically, Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, they meet at the beginning of the movie, sort of like she's like trying to use the bathroom at a coffee shop, and they're like, you have to be a purchasing customer to use the bathroom here. And so Glenn Powell is like, he's checking out, and he's like, oh honey, I got the drink that you want. You wanted this drink, right? And she's like, what? And then basically he very smoothly is just like, oh yeah, no, this is my wife, we're customers, can she have the bathroom key? And okay. he kind of like, does her a favor to like get her, but like she does a Mr. Bean in the bathroom where she goes to wash her, she does the face, yeah. No, she goes to like wash her hands, and then like the water shoots up and like hits the front of her pants, so she looks like she like pissed herself. So there's like a scene with her like, kind of doing the like air humping the air dryer. I was like, okay, that's pretty classic. Yeah. It's a classic bit. And then basically like they they hook up, sort of. They don't really hook up. They just kind of spend the whole night talking, and then she leaves in the morning. And he's like, oh dang, like she left in the morning. And then when she like leaves, and then she calls her friend, she's like, you just left? Wait, you didn't say anything? She's like, oh, you're right, I'm so stupid. And then she turns around to go back, and then Glenn Powell, like his buddy, comes over, and he's hurt, so he's just like, yeah, she was just like a one night stand, she didn't mean anything either. And conveniently the door is open and she hears him talking shit. Sure. So then like, and then it's sort of convoluted, but they both, like, his cousin is getting married to her sister, and so they end up at this wedding together. And then they have
I was waiting for that. I was like, where's the Much Ado About Nothingness to this? Because so far it has much nothing to do with that.
Yeah. And so basically like the entire family, like her ex shows up because her parents are super overbearing and like think that she should date this other guy, but then this other guy's ex is like, she lives in Australia. It kind of feels like a movie where they were like, we kind of want to take a vacation to Australia and just be on the beach all the time, but let's do a movie. It kind of like one of those Adam Sandler vacation movies where it's like, let's go to this beautiful like scenic location, and then we'll also do a movie, but we're just going on vacation here for,
yeah,
really. I don't think I can take Sydney Sweeney seriously as like a nice person in movies. Like I feel like everything I've seen her in, she's just like the hot mean girl.
Yeah.
In White Lotus, like I liked her character. Her character was great, but it's because she's like, listening to Red Scare and reading Nietzsche, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is like, she perfectly plays that type of like, I'm hot, but I'm mean, and I'm also like an intellectual. I don't know. I think her character's fairly similar in like. I think in Euphoria she plays another type of character that's just like, mean high school girl.
Yeah.
And so like some of her line deliveries, and she had some of those, aforementioned, like talking about love and life and like those sort of big idea things, and they sounded extremely corny coming out of her face, like trying to like, 100% seriously deliver those lines. It was like, I can't take this seriously at all. But the ensemble cast was fun. I like seeing Dermot Mulroney and stuff.
Yeah.
He was in it.
Stoker.
Yeah, no, yeah. I was thinking about that. Like, I was like, I saw him in something recently. Yeah, Stoker. There was like an older guy who was like this older Australian guy who had a few like really good like one-liners that I wondered if he Brian Brown. Oh, he's in the movie Australia from 2008. But yeah, I do. Yeah, he is Australian. But he was kind of like the stepdad for like the cousin, and like there were a few scenes where like they were trying to do the thing where they would speak loudly to like make sure the other guy could hear them having this. Like, you know what? I really do think that actually she really likes him and he should just give her a chance. And they're like looking over. He had a few like funny little one-liners that I wonder were ad-libbed. And this was an R-rated comedy, and I guess I was expecting. I had seen people online be like, "Don't take your boyfriend to the Sydney Sweeney movie." And it's like, of like Sydney Sweeney, you really only see like some side boob in like one scene and maybe like a tiny bit of nip. I don't know. I was thinking that this movie was gonna be like
just
super duper, yeah. And it was like pretty tame. The only other scene with like full frontal boobies was like a comedy. It was like meant as like a comedic thing where like Glenn Powell gets to the beach and like he sees his ex, and she's like this Australian, like she's very almost like but not really like a tomboy, but she's very much like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Like she'd punch him in the chest, like kind of one of those characters. And he gets to the beach and she like sees him and she's like, she gets up really quick, excited, like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And like she's not wearing a top because she's sunbathing, but she's like far too formal where like she doesn't think it's a weird thing, that it's just like, you're seeing me topless right now.
Yeah.
Kind of, but that was really it. There was though a penis joke that I was like, oh Jesus Christ, because there's another part where there's like this hunky Australian dude who's like kind of like, he's like Thor, like he's got long hair, he's jacked, and like they have one of those outdoor showers, like at a, like, you know, when you go to the beach, there's like a little shower head and you just kind of wash off.
Yeah.
And he like, it's kind of like one of those things where like Glenn Powell's about to go use the shower and hunky Australian guy just like beats him to the punch and turns it on. He's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" You know, just like completely oblivious that he cut him off. And he's like, "Oh, you know, you got to make sure you wash your," and it's like a bunch of different euphemisms for penis. You got to make sure you wash your Trailblazer. And he's like, what? It's like, "Oh, you know, you one-eyed Muppet." And he's like, "Huh?" And then he's like, you know, "You're anteater." And then it cuts down and he's holding the tip of his penis and he like opens it and goes and it was just like, whoa, did not expect to see like dick based like a pee hole joke. But yeah, you know, it was kind of cringe, it was kind of corny, had a few funny moments. I mean, it was, again, pairing this with 2010's Valentine's Day is kind of perfect, because this movie was essentially just like junk food, just like that. So, you know, if you're interested, go see it. It's pretty silly. Yeah, I don't know. Don't go into it expecting to see Sydney Sweeney's jumbo yum yums, though. You don't really. You might be let down.
Damn. Well, I watched some stuff that does not pair well. They're just kind of. Well, one is I want to talk about I Shouldn't Be Alive first, actually. Because I want to see if you remember this show. I don't know if you watched it, but it was this or like because this was one that my wife just started watching, and I'm watching. I'm like, damn, this is really familiar, really similar to a show that I watched, but I swear to God, it was not called I Shouldn't Be Alive. I thought it had the word die or like kind of like a similar thing where it's like I should have died or I should be dead or I cheated death or something like that. But it's like she watches like disaster shows all the time. And
yeah,
I feel like it probably is the one that I'm watching because I'm usually I don't like pay much attention to them just because they don't like interest me that much, honestly. But this one I'm like watching every episode with her. I'm like way more into these, but it's like your typical sort of like docudrama where you get the people recounting these like harrowing like survival stories that they had, and
right.
And it's good though. It's really like it's a British show actually, even though I feel like a lot of the subjects are Americans, probably because we are idiots, and like I feel like we're the most likely to be careless with dangerous things.
Yeah, I feel like there was like a VH1 show that it wasn't like the Darwin Awards, but it was like 101 Ways to Die.
Maybe
and it was
that was it. Maybe that's,
I wonder if that's
the one I'm thinking of.
Because it would be, you'd watch an episode and it would be sort of like, it'd be like in 2002, Eric Johnson, stepped out of his door. 1,001 Ways to Die. Yeah. And it would be like just insane ways that people have managed to get themselves killed in like very odd situations. I definitely did watch
this too. Either this is the one I'm thinking of, or I definitely remember this show, too. But this was like a lighter, like almost like comedic, like the Darwin Awards type vibe, where
because I feel like watching that show. Oh, it was on Spike TV, classic Spike TV. It would be telling this story about how someone died horrifically. And then it would be like a cutaway, like
what an idiot.
or like clip art gag where it's just like a little cartoon of someone and it's just like they get squished or something like that.
This one, most of the episodes I've watched, everybody has survived, and they're like in the episode, like they're interviewed, like telling the story themselves and stuff, which I like. Maybe that's what makes it more interesting than like I don't know, one that she watches a lot is, I think it's just called Air Disasters or whatever. It's usually like airplane crashes or whatever.
Not a high survival rate on those.
And that's mostly like a narrator being like, and then the engine went down and they spiraled into a free fall. And maybe it's because I Shouldn't Be Alive is like told from the first person perspective that makes it more interesting, like knowing like kind of what they were going through and stuff. I just went back and watched the first episode that she had told me about, and that's the only one where people involved did die, because there's like 5 people involved and only like 2 people survived, and it was insane. It's like what a fucking pilot. Like that's what you use for your opener. It's like these people are we're on a yacht trying to sail from like Maine to Florida, and there's a big storm, overturns the yacht. They're like adrift in the Atlantic Ocean in just like a dinghy, like a little life raft. The 5 of them. One of them got like their leg, like a super deep cut on their leg from like when the boat went down. And there's like the water in the raft is like has got like piss and pus and like it's all like fetid and stuff. So they all have like staph infections. 2 of them like start drinking salt water because they, they're thirsty, but you're not supposed to. The one girl with the cut open leg is like dying of sepsis, and they are in like shark infested waters.
Of course.
The 2 guys that drink the salt water like start hallucinating and just walk off the boat and just get ripped to shreds like immediately.
Oh.
And then the one girl dies of sepsis, and they like have to like push her overboard, and she gets pulled under, and it's very grim. It's good though. It's very like it's very engaging,
I mean, it's a captivating story.
It is what it is, but yeah, it's insane. The type of shit that happens.
There was a podcast series that I listened to where I think they actually just made a movie about it, or like a docuseries. Survival in the Andes. Have you heard of this?
Oh wait, is this the that's probably Society of the Snow, right?
It's about like a rugby team. They're going to like Argentina or something.
Yep, it's up for a couple Oscars, or at least one. It's up for Best International Feature at the very least.
Yeah, Last Podcast on the Left just did like a 3-part series about that, and yeah, that's like they had to like, if someone died, they had to resort to like eating them kind of thing, and it was the fact that like a handful, like I think like 10 or 15 of them ended up surviving, but it was like that, like the way that they described the like because they were basically like living inside the hull of the airplane, and then like one of them, it was one of the situations where like if this one thing didn't happen, everyone would have died. But like a couple guys like woke up early in the morning and they heard something, and they're like, that's kind of weird. And it was an avalanche. And this avalanche of snow came down. And like, because those 2 were up, they were able to like help dig out other people. But like, they described dying in an avalanche, and it is god awful, because it's basically like being buried alive. But like your breath melts the snow. I think they call it like the mask of death or something like that, because like your breath melts the snow enough to like give you a little pocket to breathe in, but then you're just like breathing in like carbon monoxide or whatever, and you just slowly asphyxiate.
Jesus Christ.
But I was like, if those 2 guys hadn't have woken up, they all would have just been swept away by the avalanche, and like that would have been it. But because they were up, they were able to like, dig around in the snow, pull people up, and then they were able to like dig around. And I do think a couple people did end up dying that way, but like, yeah, those types of stories are nuts to hear about.
Yeah, there's a lot of like most of the episodes that I've watched of it are basically just happenstance. Like they happen to be looking in the right place at the certain time or something like that, and especially that one where they're in the ocean, because it's like the ocean's so fucking big that like and they ended up just getting picked up by a random like shipping vessel that was like drifting by.
Just
like,
total happenstance.
What are the chances that would happen? Like, honestly, I would probably just drink the salt water and be like, yeah, I'm just going to go insane. Like, I don't know if it's like being high or what, but I'm like, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
At least I won't know.
There was, there's like another story about whalers in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, where like they were on a whaling expedition, and like technology back then was so primitive that basically like they got totally lost off course. And then it's basically like a string of guys in dinghies, very, very similar, like start drinking salt water. They all start just hallucinating, slowly drying out, and then like half of them, and then totally randomly they just get picked up by another boat.
Yeah.
And then I think like one of the dudes in that story ends up like continuing to just he just keeps going out. Like if that happened to me, I would be like, all right, cool. I'm never going on a boat ever again.
You'll see. Yeah, it's like different episode to episode. There's some where it's like they never went canyoneering again. And then the next one, it's like, there was one where the dude's like, oh man, that one was intense too, where they got like such bad frostbite. It was 3 guys, and 2 of them lost like all their fingers and like some of their toes. One of them lost like all his fingers, half of a leg, and half of a foot. And that guy's like, yeah, he's like, I'm never gonna not climb. Like, I still do it. Like, it's nuts. But like, people have that drive.
There was speaking of that, I don't know how I got on this tick. I don't know if you talked about it, but like that movie Free Solo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, I just went on one of those Wikipedia wormholes where I started looking up like people who did the free soloing, because like the idea of just climbing something with no support system whatsoever is insane to me. And every single time I clicked on like a blue name on Wikipedia for like a free solo climber, every single time if I saw a death date, it's because they plummeted like 300 feet to their death. And it's like, and then people still do it. Like, you got that compulsion. I guess you have to do it, but it's just like, yeah, climbed for 40 years. And then like the difference between like you and instant death is like a pebble. One little pebble that's in the wrong spot, and you're just like, whoop, and you're gone.
Yeah, I know. That's why, I mean, it hypothetically, if I had the time and that drive to like take climbing that seriously, that's why like you'd never catch me free soloing. It's because it's like, it's not even like your own. It'd be a different case if, I mean, I still don't know if I would, but I definitely won't, because it's like there's so many what do you call it, like variables that like you just can't control. Like, you could be the best, most perfect climber in the world. You can make no mistakes, and yet there could be like a misplaced thing, or like, it had, I don't know, just some shift in the weather or something that like made this normal hold loose, and then it slips and you're dead. It's like, yeah.
Oh.
And it's like no fault of your own. It's just, erosion happens and stuff. So
yeah, I'm just like looking at pictures and getting sweaty palms. Just like,
yeah.
I can't even, like, seeing videos of like dudes whose like job is to replace the light bulb at like these 1,000-foot towers. Like,
my God, I know.
They have like the Francois Bourgeois style like head cam.
Yeah.
And like you see the curvature of the earth, and I'm just like knees weak, palms sweaty. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that should, yeah. Those are, yeah, very very nerve-wracking. So, yeah. There's me closing out the episode again with some like way off topic bullshit. Off. Yeah. I should have watched. I don't know. I don't have a lot of like romantic comedies on my watch list, but
the only other one I'd be interested in, maybe it's not a romantic comedy, the Jennifer Lawrence one that came out this year.
Yeah.
No Hard Feelings.
Yeah.
People are saying that's like, oh, cool, like the mid-budget comedy is back.
Yeah. Hopefully. I think it got like decent reviews too, so that's good. Good to hear. Yeah. All right. So, next week. I'm gonna pick you. I see you sticking up at me. All right. We are going to watch a movie.
Again?
Yeah. We are going to watch from 2011. Sticking in, we've been right around this area for the last couple weeks.
We were in the 80s for a second there too. We had like Indiana Jones, we had like Blue Velvet.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is directed by Ben Wheatley. We're gonna watch Kill List.
Oh.
Which I would not look too into it. I haven't seen it, but I kind of already know where it goes, and I think it's best to not know. So don't look. I know every time I list up the things, I see you tap Google search it. Don't do it too. Don't you know?
I'm just looking to see what else Bill Wheatley has done.
He did Meg too.
He did do the Meg too. He did that Free Fire movie, the Brie Larson shoot 'em up movie that I haven't seen, but I remember seeing the trailer for. Yeah.
No, he actually has a few that I've seen, and like I'd probably say my favorite one of his that I've seen is High Rise. And then I've seen Free Fire, Sightseers, and In the Earth. In the Earth is cool too.
Okay. Yeah, I won't look anything up about this movie. I'll try to go into it completely blind.
Okay. Yeah. This one, Kill List, is I think the one that kind of put him on the map as far as I know.
Okay.
And something I will say is like every movie that I've seen of his so far is very different tonally. So despite not, he's one where like I haven't loved a single movie of his that I've seen so far, but I'm always intrigued to check out more of his stuff. Another one I want to see of his is A Field in England.
Okay. Hell yeah, it's free on Tubi.
Hell yeah.
Tubi coming in clutch.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and that's right. Boom. The lead is what's that guy's name? Neil Maskell. I forgot about that. 'Cause I started watching a show unrelated, obviously. And that guy's in that show, and he's awesome in that show. It's called Utopia.
Oh, okay.
He plays like a hitman in it. He's awesome. All right. Anyways, okay. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Kill List, watch it before next week's episode. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube and Twitch in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And with all that said, I know something else I forgot. With all that said, I'm your restaurant host with photos of shirtless children taped to my host table. I'll put a little.
That's a detail that I didn't catch. That I did not catch that detail.
Something. That's sure what it looks like. And with me as always.
Oh man, as always, I'm your naked guitar player in your daughter's bedroom, rehearsing for my upcoming avant-garde performance. Don't mind me. Definitely wasn't here to hit your daughter's back shots. Don't worry about it. And I'm Nick.
Happy
Valentine's. Yeah, there you go. We'll do that one.